Hello and welcome to Karma's a Stitch. I'm Tonya and this is episode 94 for our little channel here, our community. If you are looking to get in touch with me, all of the ways you can do that are listed in the description box below. I am going to jump right into my very first project because it's a bit chilly and I have my overalls on, but I'm putting a hoodie on over that for the rest of the day. However, I wanted to show you progress on one of my projects. So instead of changing in front of you, I figured I would just show you the progress on this one and then I could put my warm hoodie on. So last week, I guess I should talk a little bit. I do my episodes just a little bit different. I thought, I feel a bit scatterbrained right now. I thought with the ring light that the reflection on my glasses wouldn't be quite as bad, but I'm now noticing that even with the blinds, it's a bit much. So I do my episodes just a little bit different, and I have an app on my iPad that rolls dice for me. I did that all of last year, and I made a lot of, I finished several projects. I think my number was 37 FOs last year, and several of them were pretty large projects. So I felt really good about that, and I decided I'm going to carry that into this new year. And I was talking to my friend Denise yesterday, who also rolls the dice, and she's like, you know, it's just like a guideline. Like it helps focus on what I'm going to work on, because when you have multiple whips, what I was finding, and through my conversation with Denise, I realized I wasn't the only one. I have multiple whips, and I would get so into one of them, and then I would feel guilty that my other ones were just sitting there. So by rolling the dice, it helps me focus. Okay, I'm going to work on this project for this period of time. Now, this is my knitting, and these are my rules, and I get to do what I want to do. However, this rolling of the dice has been so fun, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm going to carry it on to this year, through this year. Now, last week I rolled the dice, and it took me to my whip wall, and I pulled the project, and I was so excited. And I'm even more excited now that it's been a week, so I can share the progress that I made. So here is my pressed flowers. Now this pattern is by Savory Knitting. Here is a picture of it. And if you notice, it's a pretty cropped cardigan. Okay. Now I am a grandmother, and I have no business wearing a crop top anything. My comfort level doesn't allow it, so I don't do it. So I knew doing this pressed flowers cardigan, I was going to want some extra length. And as I was on Ravelry, I love looking at other people's projects when I'm looking at patterns and trying to pick a pattern. And I saw one on there where they didn't do the decreases on the sleeves either, which gave it much more of a bell sleeve, which is something that I am all for. So I will probably be doing that as well. However, last week I was here where this stitch marker is, or this progress keeper, and this is the progress that I made. So I had 6 flowers, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I did 2 pattern repeats this week. Now, I got to here, and this was just over the length that the pattern calls for the length of the body. But it does say that this is where you could keep going if you wanted it a bit longer. So I figured this would be a good place for me to stop for the week, because I need to make this decision now, and I need to decide if I want to do another pattern repeat, which is another like 2.5 inches, or if this is good enough. And when I say good enough, I feel like I'm settling for, and I don't like that feeling. So this here is where my underarm will be starting, because I'm getting ready to break for sleeves. I don't want to push this back too far. I've got Cinder sleeping behind me. So I almost feel like this is long enough. But I don't know. You guys, I just don't know. Let's see here. Is this as awkward for you as it is for me? See here? Like, is this long enough, or do I want it a bit longer? Yeah, so I figured this would be a good time for me to stop working on this. And then the next time the dice rolls this project, I have a note on my pattern in Knit Companion, and I'm going to, I'll make that decision when the dice rolls this project again. Now this is a really good example, and I had Caroline make a comment last week about how my neighbor just got home. Cinder heard the car. I'm so sorry. Get back on your bed. It's fine. He belongs here. Get in your bed. So this is an example of why I'm not a huge fan of bottom-up projects. I wish I could put the sleeves on right now and see where it's hitting me and then make that decision. Now I'm sure there's a lot of pros to bottom up, and I'm sure the designer who's been doing this a while has a reason for it. I don't understand what it is. I'm sure it's something, I don't know what it is, but I am not a huge fan of bottom up. Now, I had Caroline last week talk about how the candle was making her a little nervous. And it really is quite a bit further back than where I was standing, but I watched the video. I was like, yeah, I guess it does look like it's pretty close. So this is my pressed flowers. This will be going back on my whip wall. And I will be putting this in cubby number 18. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me put my hoodie back on first. I have the dice set up on my app to 16-sided dice. Okay, and so that means it's only going to roll 1 to 16, which means when I finish a project, it's going to go into 18, and then the next week it'll move to 17, and that way I'm not rolling them back to back. It'll be at least 3 weeks between. It'll be at least 3 weeks before I roll the pressed flowers cardigan again. So that's what we'll be doing. I'm gonna go put this on the whip wall, and then we can see what the dice is gonna roll next. I think I'll roll the dice right now, and then we'll just grab it while we're over there. So let's close out apps so you can see, ooh, that reflection. I'm so sorry. I don't have any other apps open. I'm gonna open up the dice app. Now this is what cubby I'll go to, and some of the cubbies have 2 projects in them. And so this dice here will tell me if I'm taking the first one or the second one. So I just tap the screen, and we're gonna go to cubby 2 and take the second project. Okay, so let's go over there and put the pressed flowers up on the whip wall, and we'll go to cubby 2, project 2. Okay, we're at the whip wall. I've got the pressed flowers. It's gonna go into cubby number 18. There it is, right down there. And now we're gonna go to cubby 2, project. There's only one in here, and it's a big one. So we're gonna take this out. This is a Mondo bag, and I do believe that's what the pattern is called. This is a Mondo bag that my mom made for me. Let's go see what's in here. Holy cow, I already know what this project is, and I am so excited. Again, this is not something I'll be able to finish this week. And if you watched my whip roundup, you may remember what is in this massive Mondo bag that my mom made for me. And it is my Slip Stravaganza blanket by Stephen West. Yes, so this here is all the wool that's gonna go into this project. And then I have the project actually in this project bag here. So we'll take that out so I can show you guys how far I am, and we'll make sure that I have an accurate progress keeper on here. So here's the progress keeper. Oh, you guys, it feels so nice. I always forget. So it's not very often, and it's mainly because I don't go shopping a lot. Like, I don't go shopping for anything a lot. And the wool that I have from my local yarn shop, because that's where I go once a week. I volunteer at my local yarn shop, so I'm there. It's just convenient for me to buy hand-dyed wool. So when I get something from a big box store, like for this project, and I start touching it, I forget how amazing it feels. And it's just a testament to the fact that you don't have to get the expensive indie dyed wool. This stuff that I got is so squishy and so amazing. This is Baby Bee Sweet Delight Bare Blue Marled. Okay, and it looks white, but it's like an iceberg. It's just got the slightest hint of blue in there. So that was one color. And then I've got Baby Bee Soft Licorice. Is the black I'm using. Baby Bee Sweet Delight Airplane. That's the darker gray I'm using. Now the fiber content in these, let's see here, 60% acrylic, 40% palmide. It is, let's see, weight, 377 yards, and it says it's 115 grams. And then I needed, with these three colors, I needed a pop of color. So this is Cascade Yarns Cherub DK. It is 55% nylon, 45% acrylic. These came in 50 gram balls, and there were 180 yards for 50 grams. So that would be 360 yards for 100 grams. So those are the colors that I chose for this blanket. And I've moved my Three Loves Progress Keeper up, and this is my progress so far. So this is where I'm at right now. I can't wait to work on this project all week. Yes, I'm very excited. This will be wonderful. So I've rolled the dice. We're gonna work on that project. This blanket is being done. I mean, he really likes his 4s, but with his blankets, it's a US 6. And honestly, I don't know that I would have ever thought to tackle this project. There's two factors that made me want to do this. The first one is I did the Slip Stravaganza cowl that he did the year that he did it, and I fell in love. That pattern was so much fun. I mean, it brought me joy. I loved working on that project. And then the other piece of that is Caroline with Aria Bark Designs. She had done not just cast it on, she cast it on and bound it off. Like, she finished it, and I got to see this blanket in a completed form by an actual real person who I know and I talk with, and it was just beautiful. It was just stunning. And as soon as I saw hers completed, I was like, okay, I need to tackle that blanket. So I'm excited. This will be a fun one. I do have 2 cast-ons this week. So let's talk about those. Okay, so cast on number 1 is the Festival of Stitches, and this was my New Year's Day cast on. And this is where there's 3 yarn shops pretty close to me. I mean, one of them I volunteer at, and that's maybe like a 25-30 minute drive for me. There's another one in town. I honestly think that one is about 15 minutes from me, but it's in the opposite direction. And then I have one that's about 2 hours away from me. And the 3 of those yarn shop owners are some of the most amazing women. Like, they are the definition of what we want this community to be, right? And they work together and they collaborate and they help each other out, and it is just such a beautiful thing to be able to witness. So the 3 of them got together and decided they were going to do another make along, and they chose the Festival of Stitches. And so patrons from each of the shops, everybody's casting this project on. And there was a local dyer, Blue Savannah. If you watched my Vlogmas, you got to see some of her beautiful yarn. And she was putting kits together, and it's just been amazing. And so I needed to be a part of that. I didn't get so far though, because I was working on my pressed flowers. And I did have Alex here. And if you're unfamiliar, Alex is my 9-year-old. She's 9 now. So we, a large number, and I'm sure at the end of this make along, they will have, they'll have the number, like how many people actually worked on this project. So this is called the Festival of Stitches, and it is by Lisa Hans, Hannes, Malaya Designs, Maliha. It is on Ravelry. It looks like she created this as a mystery knit along, which, as I'm getting into this, I can totally see how that played out for her. Now, these are a few of the pictures that she has included in the pattern. These are pictures that you could see on Ravelry. And I believe that this was a mystery knit along in 2020. So if you look here, I am, let's see, right here. I'm working on this section. This is where you start, right up here. And if you look close enough, there's some baubles in there. Now, this very, very clever designer realized that maybe not everybody loves baubles. Like, I can do baubles and I don't mind making them. I just don't like the way they look. I just don't particularly care to have them in my projects. And she accounted for that, and she gave a section, like a separate row, like the row that the baubles are on, she gave an alternative row so that you don't have to do the baubles and you're doing yarn overs and you're creating eyelets. And I was like, absolutely, sign me up for that row. So that's what I am doing. The wool that I am using for this is this here. It looks black, as it should. This was the main skein that I got from my Advent swap with my friend, and it is Trilogy's plush base. It's called Wicked. This is her MCN, and this is her Wicked colorway. I love that. It's so beautiful. And I mean, I know it seems odd to say black is beautiful. It's just beautiful. The second colorway that I'm using in this project is also by Trilogy. It's on a different base. It's on her yak sock base, which I've worked with Trilogy's yak in the past, and it just gives such a lovely drape that even though it's a different base, I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I mean, all three of these have different bases, but all three of them are just going to give such a beautiful drape together in a finished FO. So this is on her yak sock base. It's 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. And this is in her eggplant colorway, which is also beautiful. Between eggplant and Cabernet. Cabernet is another colorway that Trilogy does that every time I've seen her wool, every trunk show I've been to, every sample that she's had knit, when I'm drawn to it, it always without fail turns out to be eggplant or Cabernet. And I love those two of hers are my favorite. And then the third colorway that I'm using is Hedgehog Fibers. Now this is a lace, so I am holding it double. Okay, so this is 100 grams and it's got 700 meters, which was like 776 yards or something like that. It's 50% silk, 50% merino, and it's a potluck color. And so yeah. So here you have that colorway. And like I said, I am holding this double because it is lace weight. And in the pattern instructions, she does tell you that there's options as far as making it a deeper shawl or a more narrow shawl or a longer shawl or a shorter shawl. So as you read through the pattern, she does give you the options for all of those things. And I am just going for the largest. The largest. Okay, so here is my progress. This would be my New Year's Day cast on. And these are the colorways. Now, you can't see much of a difference right here. This is the eggplant, and then, oops, and then this row right here is my wicked. And you can't really see a difference, but it is there and it's very subtle. I just wanted the pop with the pink because that pink is going to look great with the wicked. That pink is going to look great with the eggplant. And I love this. It is going to be such a dark, moody wrap that I could wear out to dinner. I can wear out with Alex. It's going to have this gorgeous drape. And where I'm doing these eyelets, see if I can show you the eyelets. You know what eyelets look like. I don't know why I'm struggling to show them to you, but so where these eyelets are is where all the different baubles would be. And I just chose not to do the baubles. I'm just gonna go with the eyelets. So this is a project that I have cast on. This was my first cast on of the year. It's being done on a US 4, and she does tell you when you're going to be working on this that you should have a spare sorry, frog in my throat. You should have spare cords, because I think what's going to happen is I'm making this center piece and then we go and we keep these stitches on hold and we work the shawl this way, and then we put these on hold and do this part. So we've always got stitches on hold because we're going to be going in two different directions, and we started in the middle. So that was cast on number 1. Now, before I go, I do want to mention the project bag. The project bag is was done by a local woman, Bespoke Nampa, and she has her. Now, she made this specific for me, and I feel it's Nampa Bespoke Totes. She made me matching cake bowls. That's right, cake bowls, plural. Okay, and I did want to take a minute to mention these because I have several of her bags, and she's just like a fixture in our yarn shop, and I feel like I have forgotten to mention several times that I have been working in her bags. So this is one of those that she made for me. I believe she has Etsy. It's got a drawstring. Her bags are just lovely. They're very well made. So yes, that is cast on number 1. Okay, so cast on number 2 for 2025 is being held in this project bag, also made for me by a friend, not on this continent. She is on the other side of the ocean. So thank you so much. You know who you are. And I didn't get to share, you guys. Look at all these gorgeous stitch markers that she included, and I believe she made them. And she included this pin, knit fast, dye warm. And inside this, I cast on the everyday sock. Now this is a sock that I have made before. She sent me a little notions pouch with a couple other stitch markers on there. My yarn is tangled on it because I'm not very organized. There we go. So this was cast on number 2, and this honestly was, this is gonna be my sock. This is gonna be something I am probably gonna make several pairs of. This was basically an afternoon of work, and this is how far I got. Now, with this pattern, I have added, you see, this is going to be the back of my ankle right here, right? That's the back of my ankle. There's the heel flap and turn and the gussets. So with this, I have altered it a little bit for me. I've added a couple of rows to get this part a little bit higher, and I added a couple of rows before I started the gusset, just so it sits a little bit higher on my ankle. So this material that I'm using, I'm doing these on a US 1 DPNs. Love them. I love working with DPNs. They are truly one of my favorite things. And I am working, where did that, I'm not sure, right here. So these are Dreams DPNs, US 1s. And the wool is this here. And this was also dyed by my friend who mailed me this project bag and chocolate, which I did share with my children. Some of it stayed on my desk and I didn't share those, but I did share some of the other stuff with them. And so she sent me this wool that she dyed, and it's gorgeous. And I love how it's going into these socks. And it is, I just wanted to work on the socks, and I was like, well, I'm done with the gusset. I'm done with the decreases, the gusset decreases, and so I'm getting ready to do the foot portion, which has a pattern around. Let's see if there's a picture. I'm sure there is. Okay, so these are the everyday socks. And And I don't know what, you see how you can see the pattern here? And it ends up creating a little bit of negative ease. So it provides a little bit of support right there. I added a couple extra rows because I just want it to sit a little bit higher on my ankle than this here. But that's where I'm at with it, you guys. And I'm so enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it. I didn't want to put them down, which is weird for me to say because I'm not much of a sock knitter. However, I think I might be casting another pair of these on if I can get another pair of US 1 DPMs, because I don't want to do 9-inch circulars and I won't do magic loop. So I'm gonna look and see if I have another set of US 1s, and then I will cast on another pair of these socks. So that is my 2 cast-ons that I've done so far this year. Okay, future Tonya here. Now that we have talked about cast on 1 and 2, it reminded me that I had a comment after last week's episode asking if I could show how I calculated my total yardage, my yards crafted last year. So I did record a little snippet of that. I am going to put it at the end of this video. So if you're not interested, you can, once you start seeing the spreadsheet, you'll know you can turn it off. But if you are interested, I did include that in at the end of this video. So I don't remember who asked that, but I did record something showing how I did that and how I created that spreadsheet. I'm sure there's loads of ways to do it. This is just how I do it. So there you go. Because I have notes that I wanted to make sure I talked about. So you guys, I've been trying really hard to be more active on Instagram. So I've been trying to make sure I post each day. Now, with me posting each day, sometimes I don't think about it. And then I'm in bed and I'm like, ooh, I didn't do that today. Well, I have recently started, since the end of Advent, taking that blanket that I started with all of my Advents. And I have that sitting next to my bed. And I'm working on that. I'm doing a square at night. And let me tell you, I've never been one to knit in bed. I just don't take knitting into my bedroom. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. On occasion, I'll take my iPad in there and listen to music or something. But I don't even remember the last time I had a TV in my bedroom. And I don't know that I've ever taken knitting in there. But having this project next to my bed has changed my evening routine. Because I'm one that typically stays up very, very late. And then in the morning, I end up regretting that I stayed up very late. And then I end up doing it over and over and over again. So what I have found this is doing is this is encouraging me to get into bed at a more realistic time. because I'm like, okay, I could start my bedtime routine right now and go in there and still be awake enough to work on a square. And I'm making progress each day. So a couple of the nights with me getting used to posting on Instagram have been that blanket, and it will probably continue to be that blanket on a few days that I just forget to document what I'm doing that day or something I'm working on that day, because that is something where I'm at the end of my day and I'm just kind of rehashing and going through my day, and I'm like, ooh, I forgot to do that. So I have really enjoyed having that Advent memory blanket next to my bed. It's just been wonderful. I'm glad that I'm doing that, and I'm gonna have to find another project that I can do that with when this blanket's done. So the next topic on here is my Advent. You guys, I'm so excited. I was talking with my friend Mandy yesterday, and that poor woman, Mandy, I just adore you. You put up with so much for me yesterday. Maybe it's the day before, I don't even remember. But she and I were talking, and I just had this overwhelming amount of excitement. Like I try really hard to be pretty subdued on here because sometimes it's a lot for people to take. But Mandy got the full force of the excitement, and I showed her kind of a sample of what I'm planning for my Advent this year, and I'm so excited, you guys. I'm hoping that within the next 2 weeks I have something that I can show you guys, and maybe you guys will get excited about it, because I am just beside myself. I just can't wait. So I am going to be doing an Advent this year. It is already in the works. I'm already going through it. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So more to come on that. And I mentioned during last week's episode that we will be playing bingo again. Yes, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Now, we did have prizes, and I don't want to talk about the money bit, but it costs money. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to participate, and I want there to be a winner, and I want it to be a prize that you would want to win. And I don't mind the financial part. However, if I'm going to do it on a regular basis, which is my plan, I'm going to create a Ko-fi membership that is just for bingo. There's just, whenever there's going to be a bingo game, you can join that bingo membership, and it is a one-time thing. It's not like you sign up for January and you're then signed up for all the others. You won't have to worry about paying for something that you're not going to be able to utilize, and it's just going to be a couple of dollars. And I will have a total, like a maximum number of people that can participate, and that way it at least covers the postage. I ended up shipping a couple of things. One was to the US, one was to the UK, and there were several pattern prizes, and I loved being able to do that. But this way it'll help me make sure that I can do it on a regular basis. And this was the best way that I could come up with that allowed people to say, oh, I am available on that date. And then that all of those funds will go into postage and the prizes. So just so you guys are aware, the next bingo game, I said it would be the last weekend of January. I am having to have a medical procedure done on January 31st, which is a Friday. So the bingo game will be on Saturday. Let me verify that it is a Saturday. I'm pretty sure that it is. Saturday, February 8th. Yeah, February 8th is a Saturday. It'll be Saturday afternoon, my time, probably about 1 o'clock. If you guys look at your schedules and you're available, look at the time difference. I'm in Boise, Idaho in the United States. And if that's something that you would be interested in participating, I will have that Ko-fi membership set up on my Ko-fi page, which will be linked down below. Now, last thing. This is the last thing for this episode, which has turned out to be much longer than I thought it would. I need a pattern request. I have been asked to do a prayer shawl for someone in my church, and it's going to be a knitted prayer shawl. It's something I would like to have done fairly quickly. When I say fairly quickly, like 3 or 4 weeks. As I mentioned, I was talking to Mandy, and she came up with an absolutely beautiful suggestion, and it's called the Mingling Daisies Shawl by Stephen West. So go take a look at that one. That has different stitches in it, and it's something where I do want to take from my stash. And with that project, there's sections of it that I could do a different color in. So even though it says it takes more than one skein, I could potentially use multiple colors. Another suggestion I had was Branching Out by Tin Can Knits. So if you guys would take a look at those, and if you can think of it, don't go searching, but if a pattern comes to your mind and you're like, oh, that's similar to what Tonya's talked about, if you would let me know what that is, I would like to start this project in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, if you can think of any patterns that are similar to those two that I just pointed out. I really do like the Mingling Daisies one. And that's a pretty high runner. So I think that might be what I end up doing. But anyway, you guys, that's all I've got for you this week. I am going to work on this Slipstravaganza blanket. I'm so excited to be working on this Slipstravaganza blanket. Even though it's a big, massive project, I think it's going to be incredibly relaxing. I do have several more cast-ons planned, so I don't know. I'm just casting them on when I feel like it. I just have no stress. No pressure, and life has just been fantastic. So I plan on keeping it that way. I'm not going to stress, and I will be casting on a few more this week when the mood strikes me. So I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in about a week. Bye. Okay, so I woke up this morning to a comment saying, how did you calculate your over 17 miles of knitting that you did in 2024? So I figured cast on number 1 is a great opportunity for me to show you how I do that. I'm sure there's loads of ways. Maybe there's an app. Maybe I'm making this more difficult than it needs to be. But this is how I do it. Now, this is my spreadsheet. Down here I had my 2024. I've created my 2025. I have moved over all of my projects that are coming over with me. Okay, but let's do this for my first cast on number 1, which is my Festival of Stitches. And then the next column over is where I've listed the yarns I'm using. So we talked about the Trilogy Wicked, the Trilogy Eggplant, and the Hedgehog Fiber Potluck. Now the next column, it says label weight in grams. So I look at the label. So here's for Wicked. It says there's 100 grams in this skein. Okay. And then if you look at my spreadsheet, it says skein yardage. Well, again, I'm getting that from the label, 450 yards. So the next column does a calculation for me. And what it does is it takes the skein yardage and divides it by how many grams there are. So this column is basically, and you look up here, and that's the calculation. It's basically showing me that there's 4.5 yards per gram in this skein of yarn. Then even though that's what the label says, right? The label says that there's 100 grams. I put that skein on my scale, and there's actually 110 grams on that skein. So the next cell, so I enter in the actual weight. The next cell multiplies the actual weight, right, by how many yards per gram there is. So if there's 4.5 grams per yard and there's 110 yards or 110 grams, then that's 495 yards in this skein. So then grams that I have left. So when I finish the project, if I have a little nugget of wool left and I put it on my scale and it says, let's say it says I have 12. It says I have 12 grams left. Then I would put 12 here. And then in the next cell, it'll do the math for me. Okay, it's going to take the 110 that I originally started with. It's going to subtract the 12 that I have left because that obviously didn't go into the project. And this is telling me that I used 98 grams of that skein. And the next cell is going to show me how many yards that I used. So the 98 grams times 4.5 yards per gram. And that's going to tell me that I put 441 yards of this wool into my project. Okay, so I'm going to put that back. Now, we're going to go through it again. Here's my Trilogy eggplant. And it says that it's 100 grams. So there I entered 100 grams. It tells me that there's 437 yards. So I've entered the 437 yards. The next cell, I put a formula in, so it calculated that there's 437, or no, it doesn't. It says there's 4.37 yards per gram. Then I put it on the scale, and it actually weighed 106 grams. The next cell calculated, multiplying the 4.37 by the actual 106 grams. I still have 106 left, but let's just say I had 22 left here, right? Then the next one would calculate, it would populate for me here. But you don't need to see how that works, and I don't want to forget my number, so we're going to leave that at 106. Okay, so that is basically how I calculated my yardages that I crafted. How many yards did I craft last year? This is how I tracked it. I hope that helps.